the Minnesota Wild podcast, presented by Acrisure.
It's Wild Weekly on the Fan.
Pass it from Kaprizov, shoots and scores.
Now here to talk about the Minnesota Wild and the NHL. From the Wild, Kevin Fallness. And from the Fan, Brandon Molesky.
Good evening. Welcome to another playoff edition of KFAN Wild Weekly. I'm Brandon Molesky. Kevin Fallness with me from the Wild Radio Network. Good evening, Kevin.
Good evening, sir.
And we, of course, move on to my favorite Kevin. That would be Kevin Gorg, I guess formerly of FanDuel Sports Network.
Free agent.
Free agent. He's probably going to get a big payday here in the summer.
Have you thought about moving over to radio? I mean, TV, that's been a thing, but maybe it's time to move on to the future.
Well, the beauty of being a free agent is you'll listen to all offers, right, Kev? So who knows, right?
Gorgie, 2 games through this series. Obviously, no Eriksson Ek, no Jonas Brodin. The Wild have been relatively competitive, but it still just seems to me like the Colorado's kind of owned the series thus far. What has been your reaction to the first 2 games?
Yeah, I guess disappointment. You know, if you would have told me before these first 2 games that the Wild were going to score 8 goals in Colorado, I would have thought that Minnesota would at least be 1-1 in the series. And when I say disappointed, it's like both games I feel like were there for the taking, and there were some breakdowns within each game that didn't allow that to happen. Super impressed with how resilient this team is. We've seen it all year long, but down 3-0 in game 1 to come back and take that 5-4 lead. I've seen a lot of positives with the depth on this hockey team. The bottom 6 in terms of their forwards, I think, can make a real difference in this series. And now you rotate back to St. Paul on a Saturday night, outdoor viewing party. Downtown St. Paul is going to be rocking. And it feels like a must-win for Minnesota, but I rely on the fact that this team in big spots all year long. I look back at Game 4 against Dallas where they absolutely had to have it, and they've come through. And so I have confidence that they'll find a way to do just the same thing and get back into the series at 2-1.
Gorgie, there's plenty of things to look at when you talk about the recap of the first 2 games, whether it be the goaltending, the special teams. To me, what the Wild did so well against the Dallas Stars is they were the bullies. And now I feel through these first 2 games, they're the ones getting bullied. That kind of surprises me because I thought the Folignos, the Trenians, the Sturms, the McCarrons would be able to enforce their will upon the high-flying Colorado Avalanche. It's been the opposite through 2 games, and to me, that's been a shocker.
I didn't see that coming either. I think Minnesota got out-hit in the first game, and certainly the big hits in Game 2 went the way of players like Nathan McKinnon. I think the biggest factor in terms of Minnesota getting to that similar game that they had against Dallas is the speed of Colorado, top to bottom on this lineup. They've been hard to hit because Minnesota has not been able to get in the forecheck and really suffocate this team with that physical play. Colorado's been very quick and efficient, moving the puck out. And I think for Minnesota now, getting the chance to go back home where John Hines can dictate some of these matchups and maybe Minnesota can dictate a little bit more of the play. They've had great looks, but a lot of Minnesota's looks have been either on the power play or in transition. You haven't seen that forecheck where they get into that grinding game, Kev, that I know you're alluding to with that physical play. It's been a calling card of this hockey team, and give Colorado credit. They've been very good to counteract that.
Fallness referenced the goaltending situation and decisions. Obviously, Volstead got the start in Game 1, gave up 8 goals. I can't say that he played awful in that game, but still gave up 8 goals. They move to Gustafsson in Game 2. What have you thought about the goaltending decision so far to flop the 2 goalies there?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you look at the score and you see 9-6 and you see 8 pucks that get by Jesper Volstead, and right away you're going to think, well, this guy was terrible. He wasn't terrible. He didn't have his best stuff. I thought there were a ton of breakdowns both directions. It was just a really strange playoff game in game number 1. And so then you listen to the narrative coming out of Denver from the Wild coaching staff led by John Hines, and maybe there's a little fatigue there mentally. 7 straight starts in the playoffs. If you go back to the last game of the regular season, 8 consecutive starts for the Wall of St. Paul. So, if you're going to play 2 goalies all year and you commit to at least being open to that idea in the playoffs, after a 9-6 loss, knowing that Gus hadn't played in a couple of weeks, I understand the thought process that went into it. Unfortunately for Gus, that first puck that goes in is one that you just can't give up. I mean, I'm sorry. In playoff hockey, that's a fluttering puck that got through him that just can't go in. To his credit, to the Wild's credit, they seem to recover. I thought the back half of that game, both Gus and the Wild played some decent hockey. But when you give good teams freebies, which Minnesota's done in both these games, it's going to be an uphill battle. I assume Jesper Wallstedt will get the nod here in Game 3. I think he gives you the ceiling to win a game against Colorado. He did that during the regular season early on. He beat this team at Grand Casino Arena, and you're going to need great goaltending within this series if you have any chance at all, and I think he gives them the best chance to win in Game 3.
There's plenty of things for the coaching staff to beat their heads against the wall, but I would think special teams have to be right there at the top. I mean, it's unbelievable how leaky their penalty kill is and their power play. Although it looked better in Game 2, I think they ended up with 9 shots, went 0 for 2. They're 0 for on the series thus far. I mean, that just can't continue if they want to have any success on home ice. How do they get this going here on both sides, whether it be the power play, whether it be the penalty kill?
I'm not worried about the power play at all. As long as, you've got Matt Zuccarello and that normal cast of characters out there, they've had looks. They're going to continue to get looks. The power play, I think, will take care of itself. I'm very concerned about the penalty kill because coming into this series, Kev, Minnesota had an advantage on paper in 2 areas. One was the goaltending, which we'll see if that plays out. But the other was the special teams. Dallas had that incredible power play. You knew that was going to be a very difficult matchup for Minnesota. Colorado this year has not had a great power play. Even though they have the big names, the big numbers have not been there. They've been a middling power play all year long. What worried me was the 5-on-5 play where I thought, the Avalanche probably had the edge on paper if you looked at the analytics. You can't give up consistently in the playoffs 1 and 2 power play goals a game and think you're going to win, especially in this series where Colorado is so good 5-on-5. And so that to me is where the rubber meets the road. And I think this break between games 2 and 3 is a really big opportunity for Minnesota and their coaching staff. They're going to get 2 full days of practice and a morning skate. They're looking at film. They're looking to make adjustments. I don't know what wrinkles they're going to have, but they certainly have to make some adjustments. And I love that this coaching staff all year long has shown the proficiency to be able to make those type of adjustments to help Minnesota win hockey games, and they're going to have to right now before Game 3.
I was just going to ask you if they make any adjustments on the blue line. Obviously, they've struggled back there. The Middleton-Spurgeon pairing has not been good, especially Game 1. Middleton was a turnover machine, kind of uncharacteristic of him. Would you change any of the defensive pairings or, to having home ice in your matchups in Game 3, maybe you can stick with what you got?
Really tough question. Great question. I love Jake Middleton. He's one of my very favorite players I've covered. He's just incredible, both on and off the ice. He has struggled in the first 2 games. Anyone who's watched can see that the speed of Colorado has been a problem. I go back to the Brodin injury. It was a fluke injury on a wrist shot, blocking one in Dallas, and we all cringed when we saw him limping his way to the bus and then onto the airplane. You knew it was trouble. And here we are. And so the option's very simple. You go back to old reliable, which is Middleton and Spurgeon, who have been together here the last couple of years on and off and had really good success, but have really struggled within this series. Or do you give Damon Hunt a look there? Damon Hunt hasn't had to play big minutes. He's a rookie playing in the playoffs for the first time, but he does have speed as his weapon. He's a very gifted skater. And you roll the dice putting him with Spurgeon because – now this is a pairing that's going to be great for the speed side of Colorado. But if they get hemmed in and it gets real physical, I would get concerned. To me, you could go either way because, you know what you've got with that third set. If Middleton's with either Petrie or Bogosian, that's a hard-hitting, heavy third set. And as you mentioned, Teneby, John Hines with the home ice advantage can set the matchup here. I think he has to be at least flexible to give maybe a look to the Damon Hunt-Spurgeon pairing. I do not like breaking up Brock Faber and Quinn Hughes. They're going to play about half that hockey game. They're so dynamic, and Minnesota's going to get chances, and they're going to drive a lot of the offensive chances they get. So I do not want that top pair split up. So a couple of wrinkles with the bottom 4 I'd be open to, but I really, truthfully, if I handicap this with the home ice, I think they stay with Middleton and Spurgeon and rely on them getting better.
whoever they have on the blue line definitely has their hands full. If you look at the opposition, the Colorado Avalanche, led by Nathan MacKinnon, breaking news. God, he's unbelievable. He's so good. 2 goals, 6 points through 2 games. I know a lot of people talk about Connor McDavid as the best player in the National Hockey League, the best player on earth. But I tell you, for my money, Nathan MacKinnon, they call him a dog, and for good reason. He's a physical specimen. He can do whatever you want offensively. And the way he uses his physical attributes to his benefit. Ask Matt Boldy. Ask any of these guys that have had to deal with Nathan MacKinnon. He's a force, Kevin. He's fun to watch unless you're trying to stop him.
Yeah, he's a fierce competitor. It's been that way. We got to know him way back in 2014 when he was a rookie. And ironically, Minnesota lost a couple heartbreaking games to start that series in Denver. Got down 2-0 against the rookie McKinnon and the Avalanche, who were heavily favored in that series. And we know how that ended. So maybe Minnesota can draw on that to tie it into Nathan MacKinnon. It's a coin flip for me between him and McDavid. They're just unbelievable players to watch. And McKinnon's going to be a factor throughout this series. And you have to just understand that you're not going to shut him down. You have to limit him. And I look at Colorado, and I think they might have fooled a lot of us with the way they played down the stretch, because they got off to that incredible record-breaking start. They were clearly the best team in this league for months, and then it really seemed like they throttled down late in the season. But come playoff time, they sleptwalked through a sweep of LA. They never really threatened in that series at all, and we've seen in the first 2 games just how dynamic this hockey team is. And so I have to think that Minnesota now, with a couple extra days to settle in here, with some frustration leaving the rink, this team has a ton of confidence in themselves. This is not a team that's like hoping to contend. In years past, I kind of felt like some Wild teams were like, let's just give it our best shot. Like, this team's seriously frustrated right now, and that's a good thing. And I think they're going to feed off the crowd. And I think they're going to know when McKinnon's on the ice, and they're going to get physical with him. John Hines is going to show a couple of those clips where McKinnon's wiping out our star players, and he's done it to Quinn Hughes. He's done it to Matt Boldy, and that's going to be a challenge to Minnesota. And they're going to have to walk that line. But, I truly believe if Minnesota is going to get back in this series, there's got to be more of a nasty feel to it. I think this team in particular, this edition of the Wild, led by players like Foligno and Hartman, want to be out on that edge. And I'm not saying you can take, 6, 7, 8 penalties and give Colorado a bunch of power play guys, but I just haven't seen that edge to Minnesota's game, and that needs to come out in game number 3, because I think it can give them a distinct advantage. If there's a lot of kerfuffles after the whistle and you get Colorado a little bit frustrated, it just looks to me like Colorado's having way too much fun right now, and that needs to change.
I also haven't seen that edge out of Matt Boldy, and a guy who was their best forward during the regular season. I think he was their best forward in the Dallas series through 2 games in Colorado, kind of a bit of a non-factor. I guess, Kevin, he just doesn't seem to be as emotionally and physically engaged as I'm used to seeing Matt Boldy. Obviously, missing Joel Eriksson-Ek is a huge loss for him. But what do you see from Boldy, or the way in which Colorado is kind of stymieing him so far?
Well, I do think Colorado's done a really nice job defending him. You've seen layers of defense, and Matt Boldy is a very patient player. He works on the wall. He can do some really incredible things with his hands and his grit. I agree with you. We haven't seen a lot of that so far in the first 2 games of this series, and I think if Minnesota is going to find a way back into the series, it's going to be with Kaprizov and Boldy leading the way. And I thought Kirill in game 2, especially in the first half of that hockey game, was super engaged, super dynamic. He was really driving the bus. But Minnesota's better when Boldy's right there with him. And if that comes back, great. If he doesn't, that's fine too. You got to figure out a way to get 12 going. I think the hit he took late in the hockey game, took a couple of them actually, will I think, stoke the fire a little bit, because getting to know this kid, he's really, really fierce when it comes to competing. He wants to be out there when it matters. He showed that, obviously, during the gold medal game for Team USA. So that's the challenge right now. Minnesota right now has to use their frustration the right way. And you can get down 2-0 in a series and win it. We've seen this before. But to me, you've got to go all in on Saturday night. You've got to put all your chips on the table. And that means if you got to put Boldy and Kaprizov on a line together and pick your center, I don't care. If those 2 are on the ice, good things are going to happen. And you can set the matchup and you want to overplay them, go for it. Because to me, there's no tomorrow. This has got to be in Minnesota's eyes an elimination game. You can't go down 3-0 to this Colorado team and think you're going to win the series.
Could not agree more. No tomorrow for FanDuel Sports Network either. How strange is this? I thought you guys did a great job. I listened to it after the fact, after Game 6, when you saluted the network. 26 years of FanDuel, Bally's, Fox Sports North, and so many different names and faces that have come and gone throughout the course of those years. How emotional was that to say goodbye to the network at the end of Game 6 against Dallas? And how strange is it to have to sit here on the sidelines during the second round of this, unbelievable playoff matchup?
Yeah, I've got some serious FOMO, Kev. There's no doubt. I've been talking and texting with your guy Joe O'Donnell a bunch and trying to get a feel for what's going on in Denver, while they're on the road before. And, for all of us, very bittersweet, great memories, great people. To see the office kind of month by month here in this past calendar year get shaved down to almost nothing, and to know that great people who have made this company work for so many years have to go somewhere else. We feel like, as a crew, we're all going to be back together next year, wherever the Wild television takes us. But until that happens, you don't know. And, we used to do shows. When they got to the second round, we'd do pre- and post-game shows around the national TV coverage. So to not have that outlet to kind of stay in tune with what's going on, certainly disappointing. I think better days are ahead. I think right now, as Minnesota transitions to a whole new TV package, it's a pretty good time to do it. You've got star power up and down this roster. You've got a team that's going to be a cup contender for at least the next 4 or 5 years as this roster is kind of put together. And I love watching this team play because you've got young players developing right before your eyes. We've seen Boldy and Kaprizov become the superstars they are. We've watched Brock Faber do that. And now we're seeing younger players like Jesper Wallstedt become a superstar. And as I watched Danila Yurov, and he's another player I want to talk about briefly in our conversation here tonight, guys, is starting to show signs that this guy is going to be another really good player. I have flashbacks to a young Mikko Koivu and a young Joel Eriksson. This kid's got that kind of potential, and I loved his game through the first two. So to kind of segue back to Wild chatter, he's another player that I think could be an X factor here in Game 3.
KG, you're the best. Always love talking with you, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, boys.
Wild television analyst Kevin Gorg, Kevin Fallness. We'll continue with the Wild Weekly next. You'll get some audio from that Wild locker room as they prepare for Game 3 versus the Colorado Avalanche. 3 days off, and then they play Saturday night, 8 o'clock start. You got an extended pregame Saturday night, Kevin?
Extended pregame starting at 7 o'clock. Network joins at 7:45. Puck drops just after 8 o'clock. So be there or be square. Beyond the Pond also on Saturday morning, 10 to noon with myself and Pat Micheletti. Beyond the Pond also has been able to stave off elimination.
Hashtag more Kevin Fallness. And we'll have more Kevin Fallness as he gets into that Wild locker room next right here on KFAN Wild Weekly.
Yeah, it's so far from over. We're down 2 games, but every team's got to win 4 games. It's tough. If we didn't come out in Game 2 with that win, that would have been really nice. But we've got so much belief in here. There's so much hockey to be played. So it just starts the next game, next shift. Just win your shift, and hopefully the scoring comes.
Wild defenseman Damon Hunt from earlier today. The series ain't over. He's not the only guy that addressed the media earlier today. So too did John Hines, and he talked about the availability of Joel Eriksson and Jonas Brodin going into game number 3.
I don't have that today.
Okay. Optimistic? How are you feeling?
I'm always optimistic.
Has Eriksson skated since the injury?
He has not.
And probably similar with Brodin.
Yeah, but that wouldn't determine whether they play or not.
How's Bogosian?
Bogo's making some progress, so optimistic there as well.
Okay.
Anybody else banged up coming out of those first 2, or anybody else you're concerned about?
Nope. Okay. Everyone else seems pretty good.
John, the time off in between games 2 and 3, when it went the way it did, and you guys probably look back and said, "Man, we scored enough goals. We probably could have won at least one of these games." How much does the time off in between help you as a coaching staff, but more importantly, your guys kind of reset?
Yeah, I think it helps quite a bit. It was a quick turnaround for us, and then 2 quick games, and I think just the guys get a little bit of a breath now. We got a really good taste of Colorado and the differences in the series, and yesterday was a day off for them. Today we had some meetings, some treat and train. A few guys skated. Tomorrow we'll have a full team practice, probably a skate Saturday morning, and then be ready to go Saturday night. So I think just in general to take the lessons out of it, get a little bit of rest and recovery, mentally and physically, also have some practice time and some meetings. I think that's always been really beneficial for our team throughout the year. So we've had a good recipe with that, and I think it was a good morning this morning for us, and then we'll get back at it and get on the ice tomorrow and get ourselves ready to go.
What are those lessons?
Oh boy, there's what I would say is there was quite a few things from game one. I felt that we adjusted well to a lot of things in game two. A lot of positive things there that I think we can take from, and the things that we weren't as good at in game one, I think we were better in game two. So I think when you take that now and you move forward, now you have a better feel of what it's going to take for us to get going here.
What have you liked 5-on-5 from your group? What have you liked overall from the 5-on-5 play?
Well, I think that from game, I think we were stiffer game two. Yeah, I think we were skating more. We didn't give as much easy offense. I thought that even you look at the shot totals, we're down. So I like some of the things that we need to do against them in that game. From an offensive perspective, I think we did some good things there too. I mean, you look at some of the opportunities that we had. The way that we've generated some offense has been good. It hasn't been a lack of that, but I think just combining the two of really strong checking game, but also where does that translate now into your offense? And I think we did a lot of really good things.
Any decision on a Game 3 goalie? And if not, what are you factoring in when you make that decision?
No, we're just not factoring anything right now. I think it's just, take it day by day. We got the day, like I said today, we got a practice day tomorrow. And I think in all these situations, things evolve day to day. For us, this is what we're doing today. No lineup decisions. Go tomorrow. Let's have a good practice, focus on what we're doing. And then once we get closer to the game, we'll make a decision.
That's John Hines. Game 3 coming up on Saturday. It's an extended pregame starting at 7 o'clock. Also, Beyond the Pond starting at 10 a.m. Both feature Pat Micheletti. Hopefully you can join us 10 a.m. Saturday morning, 7 p.m. Saturday night. Wild and Stars Game 3 coming up right here on KFAN. For Brandon Molesky, I'm Kevin Fallness. Thanks for joining us for another award-winning edition of KFAN Wild Weekly.
For an extraordinary advantage in sports, you need a game plan. For an extraordinary advantage everywhere else, all you need is Acrisure. With a high-tech human approach to insurance, cybersecurity, and more, Acrisure helps you take care of what you care about. That makes winning easy. See what Acrisure's extraordinary advantage can do for you at Acrisure.com.